What is going on, everybody? My name is Jay. This is Unplayable, and for those of you who have never seen the channel before, thank you for joining. And for those who do watch Unplayable, this is gonna be a little bit different. This is a channel where me and my friends like to talk about the games that we are currently interested in and just jiving with. Lately, it's been a lot of Star Wars Unlimited. Today, I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna be talking about the top 10 most anticipated games for GenCon. So me and the whole crew at Unplayable are going to be attending GenCon this year. And I've been really into playing board games a lot lately, more than I had been since Star Wars Unlimited release. So there's a lot of games I'm really excited about. If you wanna see these games, there is a GenCon 2024 Most Wanted Games Tracker on BGG, also known as Board Game Geek, where you can check out a huge list of games that are going to be releasing at GenCon. So that's what I'm using, and I'll leave the link in the description. So if you want to click on it and check out all the different games, you can do that. Now, I said top 10, okay? But I have a few extra games I'm throwing in here for you guys as what we call honorable mentions. Boom, boom, boom. Let me get some water. Refreshing. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you guys the honorable mentions that I don't have in my top 10 really quick. The first one is gonna be Wandering Galaxies. This is from Plaid Hat Games. I've played and own quite a few Plaid Hat games. This is a game in the Crossroads genre of their games, or mechanic, whatever series. They have Dead of Winter, the second Dead of Winter. The latest one was Freelancers, Wandering Galaxies. They had one that was like Gen X or something like that. They've got a slew of these Crossroad games, which is cool because I think the system is really neat, where basically while you're playing, the person next to you, to your left, will draw the top card of the Crossroads deck. It'll have some kind of trigger that could happen, and they wait to see if that happens on the other person's turn. If it does happen, then there's this scenario that you read some flavor text, you make a decision, something along those lines that it affects the game in some way. It's a really cool mechanic. So I had to include this one. The only reason it's not in my top 10 is because I didn't play Freelancers or the other Gen whatever game. So I feel like I'm kind of outdated on this because the only ones I've played have been both of the Dead of Winter games, which I do actually own. And then there's Forgotten Waters, which is a whole nother one in that series. I like the theme of this one. I like the art of this one. So this one kind of caught my eye. So it's one I will check out, but it did not make my top 10. Another one that didn't make my top 10, and I actually tweeted about this game, and for whatever reason, it got pushed down my top 10. Sand. This is a game from Devere. This is set in the universe of a game that I actually own. I own a game called Silk, where you're like sandworm farmers and you're trying to like protect them, and then you're also trying to push this little wolf style creature to where it'll mess up your opponent's sandworms and knock them out of their spaces and stuff like that. So it's set in that universe. I don't know much about how this game plays, but I love the artwork. I love Devere games, so I had to make the list. Another one that didn't make the list, and I actually love the look of this game. It's called Age of Comics: The Golden Years. It looks like a pretty like intense Euro game where you're just like making comics. Here, I can read it. The Golden Years is a worker placement management game in which players will run a publishing company during the golden age of comics. And it's got a huge description of different things that you do on your turn and how you score points. You try to get fans of your comics, being the top comic book on the charts, earning money, improving printing quality, all that kind of stuff. So it looks really, really neat. And we're getting closer and closer to my top 10 here. I've got 3 more honorable mentions. Weirdwood Manor. It's a co-op game that is like an adventure style with some Euro inspired mechanics. I don't know a ton about it. I know it looks super cool with this big circular board in the middle that you're gonna be moving your characters along. There's gonna be bad baddies in there, and obviously it's a mansion, so there's different rooms. Kind of reminds me of the idea of like Betrayal at House on the Hill, except hopefully better. Not that Betrayal is necessarily a bad game, because I do enjoy it for what it is. It's just not one I want to bring out all the time. So Weirwood Manor. Then we got Cascadero. This is a game from Reiner Knizia. That alone makes me want to check it out, even though he has so many games that are also not good. I feel like lately he's been producing less games or designing less games, and they've been better. So I really like the artwork of this one. It's supposed to be kind of like combo-y, where you're doing like cascading combos, if that makes sense. It's also tile placement. I don't know. I just like the way it looks. So it made my honorable mentions. And then my last honorable mention, which really should have made my list, is called Dr. Jekyll, or Jekyll and Hyde versus Scotland Yard. It's a cooperative trick-taking game for 2 players. How do you do that? I have absolutely no idea. But the premise of that sounds really cool. I really like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde style like theme. And then the artwork is from Vincent Dutrait. It just looks gorgeous. The cards, the board, everything about this small box game looks absolutely gorgeous. So it made my top 10. Or it did not make my top 10. It made my honorable mentions. Now that I did this long intro of a bunch of games that aren't on my list, I will show you what's on my list. So number 10, we've got Reef Project. Reef Project is coming from Board and Dice. I have owned and still own quite a few Board and Dice games. I really like the kind of heavy-ish Euro style games that Board and Dice makes. And then this is a really cool theme that you don't see in heavy Euro games. It's got awesome artwork. My wife and I are super into like ocean themed stuff, and we're actually in the process of getting our scuba diving license or certifications, so we can go scuba diving with some relatives that we live in Florida, so like obviously we like ocean stuff, but we can take advantage of being able to scuba dive, so why not get our certifications? Anyway, this game looks really neat. I mean, just the board and the pieces alone are just beautiful. And Board and Dice makes awesome games. It's got sweet dual layer boards. It's got this track where you're going around, or not really a track, but a board with paths that you're going around. And there's different things in the water. You got your boat that you're upgrading and putting stuff in. I'm not super familiar with these designers or how to say their names. But basically it says, despite covering less than 1% of the ocean floor, coral reefs are estimated to be home about 25% of all marine species. Fortunately, these vibrant underwater cities are dying. Climate change and its effect of rising sea temperatures is devastating the colorful algae that give coral reefs their bright, brilliant hues, resulting in coral bleaching. Furthermore, other threats like pollution in its various insidious forms and overfishing are disrupting the delicate balance of reef ecosystems. Yada yada yada. On their turns, player may choose to recharge or travel. If they recharge, they gain rewards from the VP track. If they travel, they may deploy reef balls, move their ship, play mission cards, and perform various actions. Sounds cool. So it made my list, and we're playing Dave the Diver right now. We love ocean themed stuff, so I figured this one would be really good for me and my wife to be able to play. Next up, The Mandalorian Adventures. I love Star Wars. That is obvious. So the Star Wars game made my list. Also, it's published from Unexpected Games, who has a great track record so far with their latest hits. They've got The Initiative, they've got 3000 Scoundrels, Voices in My Head, and it's Corey Kanitska. He does great games. If you look at it, it's got this adventure book that I'm assuming as you go through the different levels, you flip the book and do different things, and different levels have different special ways to play the game and objectives and all that stuff. Just seems really cool. So this is one I'm obviously interested. I don't know much about the mechanics, but it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. Number 7, Galactic Cruise. Galactic Cruise, the artist is Ian O'Toole, immediately grabs my attention. Ian O'Toole does fantastic art. He does fantastic iconography, building out the board. I mean, he just does a fantastic job. Absolutely. This looks like a game that you would see from right over here, the Gallerist on Mars Escape Plan, Vital Lacerda, and Eagle Griffin game. But it's not. It's from Kenson Key Games. Let me see. Do I even know anything from them? I don't know a single. They only have one other game, and it was not popular apparently. So if you look at the board and the components, I mean, I love those. I mean, look, this looks like a Vital Lacerda game. Everything about it, from the meeples to the board to the way Ian O'Toole designed the iconography. Oh, and those player boards are insane. Look how crazy those player boards look. I mean, everything about this is really scratching an itch for that heavy gamer. you heavy Euro gamer in me. I mean, you've got the pieces that go on the tracks on the bottom right that I'm assuming you get to take, put out on the board or something like that. I don't know. This game, this game looks great. The theme of a galactic cruise is cool. Galactic Cruise. Here we offer our guests something special: the comfort of luxury cruise with the innovation of space travel. As the first company to offer extended stay space vacations, we're excited to have you working with us. Yada yada yada. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the actual mechanics because it doesn't say a ton here. I mean, it says action points, connections, in-game bonuses. That's all. I mean, this game probably has a ton of mechanics in it just looking at it. So something about this looks fantastic to me. Number 6, SETI, also known as Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Now, this is a game by CGE, who also makes fairly heavy Euro games. They used to do a lot of stuff with Vladimir Suchi, who did Underwater Cities, Prodigal's Club, and the one that came out before that, Last Will, stuff like that. And they're fairly heavy Euro games, and I love that. Look at this board. It looks insane. If this is spinning around and doing all kinds of crap, man, this is gonna be crazy. Those cards look really good. The artwork looks good. The graphic design looks good. It looks like they know how to make a card that is not overly complex. Something about this looks sweet. And then that sun in the middle and the player boards with all the pieces on it. This is like Galactic Cruise. It's just scratching that, like, I need to play a meaty game, and this is it. And the cover looks sweet. So this is definitely one I'm really looking forward to. Number 6. Let me get some water before I do this one. Skyrise is my number 6. Okay, let me just pull up this picture for you. Not this one. Look at that. Look at this board. That looks so freaking cool. Look at these pictures of this board, dude. And look at the pieces. Now, obviously, this is all plastic. If you go back and look at some of these first ones, they're wooden pieces, which still look fantastic. And they don't have the as much of a lifted surface there. But the visuals of this game, look at that cover. Look at the theme of the steampunky without being too steampunky. It's not overreaching that steampunkiness. There's levels of steampunks and steampunkiness, right? There's like 0 to 10. This is like a 5 on that scale of steampunkiness. So it's not too much. It's not like overbearing. It's just like the right amount of steampunkiness for the theme to really like look cool. This dude doesn't have gears all over him and a monocle. He just has a top hat. He's got a paper. The lady next to him, same thing. It's not like they've got these like long telescopes on their that they bring down. They're like, ooh, yeah, and they, it's like the perfect amount of steampunkiness for it to not be too much. All right, that's enough of the steampunkiness. This game looks really freaking cool. I have no idea how it plays. The mayor has enlisted some of humanity's greatest visionaries to help build Skyrise, a magnificent city in the sky dedicated to art, science, and beauty. But only one artisan can be remembered as the greatest. It tells an interactive story of growing cityscape, hard decisions, scarce resources, and ever-rising stakes that will keep you enthralled until the final scores are revealed. Sounds great to me. This game is purely making it based on the way it looks. So there's that. Number 5. Yeah, number 5, Pagan Fate of Roanoke. Now, the artwork for this one, I like it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite style of art. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad, but something about it is just, how do I say this? I like the way it looks, but if there are other art styles that I would prefer, but this one's not terrible. Anyway, this is a small box game for 2 players. I do know a little bit about this game. There's not a whole lot there, so that's really cool. I like small box games that are 2 players I can play with my wife. That is perfect. But let me read you this description. Let me just read you the description of this game, because sounds amazing. Pagan Fate of Roanoke is an expandable deduction card game set in the colonial America of 1587. The essence of this asymmetrical game is a witch's struggle against a witch hunter. As the witch strives to complete a ritual of renaturation, the hunter tries to discover her true identity among 9 villagers. Each turn, the 2 players use their action pawns on active villagers to draw cards, play cards, and gain influence. Each player has their own variable card deck of 50 cards. With these cards, the witch can brew powerful potions, improve their familiar, and cast enchantments and charm, while the witch hunter enlists allies, claims strategic locations, and ruthlessly investigates the villagers. As a witch, your objective is to collect enough secrets to perform a ritual so potent that the entire region will fall under your spell, and Mother Nature will reclaim the island. As a hunter, you gather all the allies and support you can muster to bring the witch to justice before her fatal ritual comes to fruition. That sounds so freaking cool. I love deduction games. I love 2-player deduction games. This is it. This is an awesome sounding game. The visuals, I mean, the art on the cards looks pretty good, actually. I actually really like the art on the cards. The art on the cards doesn't feel like it looks like it does on the box cover, which is actually a good thing. Yeah, these cards look awesome. The boards look fine. I mean, there's nothing like crazy about it, but they're cool. But the way the game looks like it plays is freaking sweet. So yeah, there you have it. Pagan Fate of Roanoke. Number 4 is Comic Hunters. Now this game was released in South America, I think is where it was, a while back, and they're finally bringing it over to the US. I'm a big comic book fan. I love comic book themes. I like a lot of the stories that they tell. I collect a fair amount of comic books. Most of them are Star Wars, but I have some other series that I like to collect. And finding a comic that you've been looking for that's not like outrageous price, but one that you wanted to add when you're trying to fill out a singles collection of a certain series is always fun. So this game is about that. This game is about about hunting comics. And it's paired with Marvel. So you got all of the awesome Marvel characters that you can think of, Avengers, all that kind of stuff. And it looks good. I mean, everything about it looks sweet. I don't know too much about the mechanics, but I do know it just looks super fun, and I'm a huge fan of comics, so the theme really works for me. It's supposed to be a light game, and so that means it's something I could teach to non-gamers, which I play a lot of games with non-gamers, so that, just the theme, the way it looks, the sound of how easy it is to play, put it on so high for me. If we read the description, it says, after a long search in several comic book stores and online stores, you managed to acquire the most important comic books of all your favorite heroes. Well, almost all of them. Some rare and important editions are still missing from your collection. The first appearance of your favorite villain, the special edition that influenced a generation of storylines, the spectacular debut of a new uniform, the memorable confrontation with the archenemy, that valuable number one. You always know where to find them, and you also know that you are not the only one in search of these precious gems. Will you be able to collect all the comics needed to be recognized as the greatest collector of all time? I mean, aren't we all trying to do that? Even with Star Wars Unlimited, we're trying to do that. Or Magic the Gathering, whatever you play. Yeah, this just sounds really cool. Number 3, Undaunted 2200. Now, number 1, 2200 ain't that far away, and this is like space. This is like Space Marines. So I don't think 2200 is what I would consider to be what this looks like. Anyway, Undaunted, I have Undaunted Normandy. You can barely see it. I have Undaunted Normandy, Africa, and the reinforcement box, which holds all of those. I haven't gone past that because there's quite a few past it, because I just have so much to play in this already, which is more than enough for me. I really like this system though. It's one of the coolest systems. This one, the old one is based, or not this one, all the ones before are war-based themes, like World War II based themes. But it's not a war game. It's more of a skirmish game that is just war themed. So that alone is cool because it invokes what you want out of playing a war game without being one of the super heavy ugly war games that exist. So Undaunted actually is a deck building skirmish game where you have tokens of different soldiers on the board, and they act through cards in your deck. But if all the cards for that character get removed from your deck, discard pile in hand, then that token gets removed from the board. But you can always add those back, not those, but you can add more into your deck. They get to come back, stuff like that. It's really cool. It's a fantastic system, and I mean, there's so much more to it than just that, because they also introduce vehicles and planes and all kinds of stuff. So this, knowing this game alone makes me excited for this, but the theme is also so sick. The artwork looks cool, the boards look cool, the cards look cool. I am super stoked for this. This is going to be awesome. So makes my list. My number 2 is Rock Hard. There's basically no information about this game, but Devere makes awesome games, and I'm a big rock and roll fan, especially 70s, 80s rock and roll. The cover of this, it evokes that, right? Like, if you like that style, or if you like that era of rock and roll, this is it. So basically it says, rehearse, play gigs, get a record deal, and become the most famous rock star of 1977. And that definitely comes through. There's one picture, and it's basically a amp. Crank it to 11. Literally, it has 11 on here. For those who know what Spinal Tap is, you gotta turn it up to 11. You just turn it up to 11. Oh, there's one more picture of the board, and I can't really make anything out from it, but I know you gotta hire like a publicist, and you gotta hire crew, you gotta hire people to be in the rock band with you, all that kind of stuff. Just sounds really cool. So number 2, and my number 1 by a long shot. I think this is not even close. This is by far the game I'm most excited to try and get while I'm there, or at least play. Arcs. It's from Leader Games, and Cole Whirl and Kyle Farron is the artist, which is pretty much all of the Leader Games lately. Is those two duoing it up and making games. This is a sci-fi strategy game that has a trick-taking element to it, and it's asymmetric. So if you've played Root or Fort, or well, I guess maybe not Fort, Fast. Let's see, they've got a ton of games. What's the Ahoy was really cool. What's the other one? I can't think of it right now. But this basically is an asymmetric game that has a fair amount going on. I've never played it, but I'm definitely looking forward to play it. It says right here, 2 to 4 players set in a dark yet silly universe. Ready yourself for dramatic twists and turns as you launch into the galactic struggle. Seize the initiative. Take actions with multi-use cards. I love multi-use cards. Copy the leader. I love games that say copy what the leader does. Pivot to new tactics or take initiative for the next round. Timing is everything. And then declare ambitions. In each game, you define the objectives that everyone competes over to win. Oh, also another cool thing is, I have Oath. I have that. That's another one. Is this has that Oath thing where games affect future games by adding, I don't know if it's adding and removing cards from decks like Oath is, but it does affect future games, which is really cool, but it doesn't require you to play with the same people. It just kind of changes the world. There's also like a 3 scenario campaign, or like 3 games in a row campaign. I don't know much about how that works, but I just want to play the game. Crush your foes, master your navy for battle, plan your strategy with 3 kinds of dice, and roll them at once to resolve battle in a flash. I like battles in a flash. The last thing you want to do is make a convoluted combat system. Sounds like they don't do that here, which is nice. So yeah, this game just looks awesome. Definitely gonna be checking this one out when I'm there. That is my top 10 anticipated games for Gen Con. So thank you guys for joining me on that. If you are at Gen Con and you want to hang out, let me know. Join our Discord. There's a link below. My dog is going crazy. I think someone knocked on the door. My daughter's trying to tell him to be quiet. So I'm gonna go deal with that. As always, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.